Okay, like I said, not to embarrass Jen here, because this is a gorgeous portrait and I love it. When we look at this portrait, it obviously does need some editing. And one of the things that I noticed you did, let's go back to your original image here. So let me, so you guys all see this, okay? And one of the things that I think Jen notices, it was cold out there. Her nose is red, her cheeks are red, okay? Her skin is very flushed, and she's very fair-skinned. So immediately the first thing you really see is the pink. The pink really starts to stand out, okay? So I think that when Jen started to edit her her photograph, oh, see, I don't even have your, I only have my copy here. What you did, let's just go back to it. Stink. What Jen did was she just kind of desaturated the whole thing, which was very much an acceptable reaction to what was going on with the photograph itself. So CR2, yes. So this is basically, here's what she basically did. She just took the saturation down a little bit, okay? And now the girl's skin looks like normal. She doesn't look like she's freezing cold and has been out there for an hour, which she probably had been, right? The problem with that is twofold. One is it really brings down these colors in the background, okay? I mean, you got these gorgeous pinks and blues and purples and greens that are in the background because of the graffiti. It also brings down her eyes and the color of her lips and everything like that. So instead of doing that, what I did is I actually opened it up in Photoshop here, okay? And I created a very simple mask, okay, around the skin of her face and around her eyes and her lips. And notice the lips are gray, so that I let some of the colors kind of show through. So here's our original. Then I did some clone stamp, and I did a little bit of a hue saturation there. I did pale her out a little bit. You can see that very subtle change there. And I did do some healing brush work, okay? But then here comes the real big part. Look at that. So by taking the saturation down on her face, but leaving her lips and her eyes alone, and the hair, you get the benefits of having, making her not look so cold and flushed, okay? But also keeping that saturation on the background, which I think is so important because you want those colors. But then what ends up happening is now the background's becoming really important, right? And I have taken the saturation down a little bit, and you can see in her eyes, I mean, she's got these greenish blue eyes, they're really nice. So what I then did is I created another color balance on top, okay, that just lets some of the color back into her eyes. And it's just a simple color balance, and I mean, look at this, literally just a touch of green, just a touch of blue in the mids, and the highlights a little bit less, just to allow the eyes to look a little bit greener. And if you can see the zoom here, if I turn it on and off, you can just see that little touch of green that pops back into the eyes, okay? And what that does that I think is more successful then is that reflects the colors that you have in the background. And by doing that, I can now selectively lighten, darken, saturate, desaturate certain specific areas of the photograph to allow it to look a little better. Am I, again, we talk constantly about the ethics of photography and the ethics of manipulation because it's really important. Am I altering who this person is? Am I changing something that is the way she looked? No. I'm just removing some of the flush from her skin and allowing a natural color of her eyes, maybe boosting it a little bit, to show up. Did I, change her color of her eyes from blue to brown? No. Did I change the color of her hair from blonde to black? No. Those are important things that you want to talk about. And when I desaturated, I didn't make her lips stand out too much. I wanted those down a little bit less, so you can see in the mask, the lips are gray. What that does is that allows some of the color to come through, but not all, because it was looking very, it was looking fake, okay? Just plain and simple, it was looking fake. And then you can see the mask for the eyes, okay? So basically I did a selection on the eyes, and then I inversed it. so that this color balance only affects only the pupils of her eyes and everything else is not affected. It didn't take me that long. It was a very simple fix. It was a very simple modification of the image. And yet what I want you to see here is honestly how much power these adjustment layers and the layer masking gives you by being able to use these. And in all fairness to Jen too, when she started working on this image, I hadn't given you these steps yet. You had identified that the saturation needed to come down, and you used the only tool that you had to you, which was what we call a global change. In other words, you changed the saturation of the entire image, which I think was a very smart thing to do. But now that I've given you these tools with the adjustment layers and the layer masks, I want you to realize that you can go through now and do things so much better by being able to control the brightness, the saturation, the color changes of certain things. I mean, I can go in here and I could make her a Smurf. I mean, you know, like you can really have a lot of fun with these things because, I mean, you know, again, now we're talking unethical photography, right? Unless you really are saying, look, she's a Smurf, and just for fun. But at the same time, you know, you have that power to do things that you couldn't do any other way with the layer, the adjustment layers and the layer masks. Okay, so just another concrete example of how you can make a great photograph. You can just remove some of those distractions, and that's a really great way of summing it up. It was already a great photograph. It was a really nice portrait. I'm not making it a good portrait. I'm not taking a mediocre photograph and making it a good one. You can't do that, okay? Not without ridiculous amounts of editing, and you definitely are breaking all sorts of ethics codes if you try and do that. And even then, you probably can't make a mediocre photograph a good one. But what you can do is remove some of the distractions. And that's not unethical. You know what I mean? Makes sense to everybody?